Chapter 12. It's called The Return. The staff at Carlbrook were visibly suspicious when I returned. It wasn't normal to see someone sent out of TDO show back up the same day, acting like nothing happened. But their suspicion was mixed with a heavy dose of annoyance, and their biggest thorn in the side was back at this time. I was even sharper. What they didn't know was that a million razor-sharp thorns wearing FBI badges would be arriving soon the same week. Uncertainty about how to handle me. They called my mom. They told her that she had two choices: either take me to a wilderness program to straighten me out before I could return, or have a serious heart-to-heart to get me back in line. When my mom finally arrived, it was the first time that I had seen her in over a year. We were supposed to have weekly phone calls, but my privileges were constantly revoked, and when I did get to talk to her, the calls were cut short because I tried to expose what was really going on at Carlbrook. So when I saw her standing outside the dorm hall, I didn't hesitate. I sprinted to the door, threw it open, ran over towards her. Her face lit up and she dropped her black leather purse. "It's good to see you, Mom," I said, hugging her tightly. "Connor," she laughed, her voice filled with joy. We held each other for a long moment and she pulled back slightly, gripping my shoulders to get a good look at me. "So I heard you've been causing trouble here." Her words hit like a slap. The joy in my heart evaporated. "Mom, this place is fucked up. Please, please, please take me away from here." She cocked her head, her face full of disbelief. "Honey, this place looks really nice. What could possibly be that bad? Everyone here hates me and treats me like shit." She sighed and shook her head. "From what I hear, you're doing that to yourself. Maybe if you followed the rules and stopped pissing everyone off, it wouldn't be so bad." Her words sent a deep pinch in my chest. "Mom, please, you don't understand what it's like here." My voice cracked and tears began welling up in my eyes. She stared into my eyes, her own beginning to water. "Sorry, honey, you have to stay. I don't know what else to do." She sniffed, trying to hold back tears. "We're going to talk to them and see if they'll give you one more chance." I took a deep breath and I took a step back, forcing myself to stay composed, because at this point in my life I had already had the heart and attitude of a jailbird. I knew how to accept being somewhere against my will. Jailbird is like a slang word in Florida. It's like someone who's in and out of jail, which you'll hear later about how much I was in and out of real jail. This is when I'm still just 13. "Alright," I said, nodding. "I'll get through this shit. Just know this place is sick and you really should take me home, but you're just not seeing clearly." I paused and I shrugged. "Either way, I love you nonetheless." I hugged her one more time and glanced down at her purse. In one of the small side pockets, I saw a little white Xanax. Without hesitating, I slipped my hand into the pocket, grabbed the pill, held it tightly. The familiar chalky texture was almost soothing. As the pill under the loose soles, I untied the already tight laces of my shoes, slipped the pill under the loose soles, and retied them. "If I'm going back inside, I'm gonna get high." She walked me back to the entrance of the dorms, opened the door, and held it as I walked in. The whole room stopped and stared at an angry counselor on the far side of the room, rolled his eyes, clearly pissed that I had returned. I lifted my chin and glared back, making eye contact with the Carlbots who had gathered to watch. I took one last glance at my mom, her tear-filled eyes darting around the room, taking in all the glares and stares. A counselor came up beside and put his hand on my shoulder. "Come on," he said with a sigh. "Let's get this strip search over with." As I re-entered the living area, ready to head upstairs and take the Xanax, something stopped me in my tracks. My mom was there, sitting in the corner of the room on the couch. I hadn't expected to see her around, so I walked over curious. "Yo, you good?" I asked. No," she said, her voice surprisingly calm yet firm. "No, you're gonna come home." She nodded her head, her eyes darting towards the room, taking in the heavy hostility that lingered in the air. For a second, my brain glitched. I couldn't comprehend what she had just said. Coming home? That didn't seem possible. I had been stuck here for over a year, and every attempt I'd made to escape had failed miserably. There was no way it could be this easy, but I looked into her eyes, compassionate, warm, and unwavering. I felt the doubt begin to fade. The joy that exploded inside of me was so overwhelming that it almost knocked the breath out of me. I couldn't contain myself. I bolted around the room, fist pumping in pure exhilaration. "Let's go! Let's fucking go! I'm about this bitch, fuck you mean!" I shouted. The staff, to my surprise, one another, clearly relieved to be free of the burden I had been to them for so long. They quickly disappeared into another room and returned moments later with the paperwork. While my mom filled it out, I rushed to pack up my room. Everything I had accumulated over the last year was shoved into bags as fast as I could manage. Soon enough, we were dragging all of it outside and loading it onto the car. Standing outside the passenger door, I paused to take one more look at the lake, the old buildings, and the whole wretched place that held me prisoner. I spat on the ground, a final act of defiance, and hopped in the car. As the sun dipped below the rolling hills of Virginia, my mom started the engine. We began the long drive back to St. Pete, down through the deep south. And at this time I'm 14, I think, or whatever is like when you go to high school. I leaned back in my seat, a sense of freedom swelling in my chest. That place, I was finally free. Part 2, The Eagle.